Welcome, fellow word nerds, to Chronicles on the Focus, the podcast where we delve into the fascinating lives of history's most captivating characters. I'm your host, Bob, and with me as always, is the ever-brilliant Alice. Today, we're tackling a literary giant, a Nobel laureate, a master storyteller, the one and only Rudyard Kipling.
That's right, Bob. Prepare yourselves for a journey into the life and times of this controversial yet undeniably influential writer. From his early years in India to his stunning literary achievements and his sometimes problematic views, we're going deep. Buckle up, buttercups.
First off, Alice, let's talk about his childhood. Born in Bombay in 1865, young Rudyard wasn't your average Victorian kid. His parents, John and Alice Kipling, were quite the pair. His mother was known for her vivacious spirit. Lord Dufferin famously said, "Dullness and Mrs. Kipling cannot exist in the same room." Now that's a recommendation.
Indeed, and his father, a sculptor and pottery designer, was the principal of the Sir Jamsetji Jijaboy School of Art. Talk about artistic genes. But the family's life in India wasn't all sunshine and roses. At age 5, he was shipped off to England to live with a rather unpleasant boarding couple, an experience he later described as the House of Desolation. Ouch. That sounds like a plot point for one of his own stories.
Seriously, that early trauma might have contributed to his incredible writing ability. But speaking of writing, let's dive into his literary masterpieces. The Jungle Book, of course, is a global phenomenon, but don't forget Kim, Just So stories, and his powerful poems like If and Gunja Din. Did you know that If is practically a life manual?
Absolutely. And his short stories. He was a master of the form. The Man Who Would Be King is just epic. But his legacy is complex. Many of his works reflect the colonial attitudes of his time, something he's been heavily criticized for. The White Man's Burden, for example, is a prime example of that problematic side of his work.
True. He was a product of his time, and his views certainly haven't aged well. Yet, despite the controversies, his impact on literature is undeniable. He was the first English language writer to win the Nobel Prize in Literature, and at just 41. Can you imagine? He also famously turned down both a knighthood and the poet laureateship. A rebellious spirit, that one.
He certainly was. And his ashes rest in Poets' Corner in Westminster Abbey, a fitting final resting place for such a complex and influential figure. So, what do you think, Bob? A literary genius or a problematic icon?
I think he's both. A complicated man who left an undeniably significant mark on the world of literature. A bit like a delicious curryful of flavor, but with some seriously spicy bits.
Perfectly put. That's all the time we have for today, folks. Join us next time on Chronicles on the Focus for another fascinating deep dive.